Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. Platformers are some of my favorite games, and the 6th generation has many classics. Today I want to talk about Xbox platformers, and I've already talked about this topic before, and I've brought up some Xbox exclusive ones like Blinx, Oddworld, and Voodoo Vince, so be sure to watch the first video if you want to hear about those. Today we're branching out a little and doing some exclusives and third-party titles. I'm keeping it to 5 for brevity, leaving many more to discuss, so be sure to mention your favorites in the comments, and they might appear in a later iteration of this list. All footage was captured off of an original Xbox, and I want to thank my YouTube channel members for their support. But let's go ahead and hop on in. First up, let's talk about a platform-exclusive sequel with Blinx 2 Masters of Time and Space. It was developed by Artoon and published by Microsoft Game Studios. It was released on November 16th, 2004 in North America. It saw releases later that year in Japan and PAL regions as well. Blinx 2 is an interesting platformer because it takes the core design of Blinx and updates it so much that it becomes something different. It's not a rehash sequel and tries to update the formula, and it makes it a neat part of the series. I'd always wanted to play this one back in the day and only have gotten the chance to play it recently. And I think Blinx 2 is a very interesting and neat game. One interesting part of Blinx is that you don't play as the titular character. You get to create your own character. It's detailed, and I'm surprised that it let me build the Blinx of my dreams. You also play as a member of the Tom Tom gang, which you get to design as well. I'm surprised how much it let me break the character customization on both of these. I love this added detail to the game, and it makes it more personal. It's an interesting touch. The cat portions of Blinx 2 do play in a similar fashion to the original. The controls are similar, with you hopping around in different themed worlds, sweeping up objects to attack enemies, and controlling time. You can pause, rewind, and fast forward to solve puzzles, and it makes traversing areas much easier. It's always satisfying to pause time, allowing you to move water, or rewind time to fix broken bridges. One plus of the sequel is that the days of skipping over certain power-ups because you had to collect 3 of the same power-up, that's gone. Now you can pick as many power-ups up as you want and use them as you go, making for a much simpler experience. It makes for a fun platforming game with a neat combat twist, but it also helps streamline it so you are constantly in action. Blinx 2 is always fun to play. The Tom Tom portions are something completely new here, and I could see this alienating some fans, but I like it. These levels are stealth platforming based and have you sneak around, time sweepers, and you use cartoony gadgets to defeat them. You can go into a hole in the ground like a Looney Tunes cartoon and hide. You can also send out little robots to distract the cats. It's silly, and it's a fun twist for the franchise. I think the level design in their sections of the game are some of the best, with some interesting level layouts. Another cool feature is the addition of co-op and competitive multiplayer, which is surprisingly fun. Throw in that visually this game looks great with fun weather effects and a nice bright cartoony style. I love seeing how well colors pop on the Xbox when used properly, like here. It also has a rocking soundtrack with great electronic music and some chill tracks. This one got mixed reviews on launch, and I don't think it has a great reputation, but I really like it. I think it's a fun and different spin on the franchise, and it is a great platformer. It's one I recommend checking out. Next, let's talk about Whiplash. It was developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Eidos Interactive. It was released on November 18, 2003 and in Europe in 2004. It also saw a release on the PS2. Whiplash has the feel of a platformer of its generation, but its main characters are what make it stand out. Whiplash bases so much of its humor and gameplay on classic cartoons. The game is set within an animal testing lab. In it, you play a weasel named Spanx and a rabbit named Redmond, and they're chained together, and they fight against humans who are doing horrible tests on animals. You mainly play as Spanx when you move and jump around. You use Redmond to attack enemies, swinging him around to fight them off. With enough hits, you get a combo, and then he will go into an attacking rage. It's a fast attack system, and it's a funny enough idea that makes this game stand out as unique. You also destroy objects with them, and it causes damages which you see total up with a money value, and I think that adds a little more fun to the game. The platforming controls well here, and it feels good to play. I think it's a really entertaining game. I think the humor of it all will be off-putting to some people, and it was when it was released. This game is very anti-animal testing, but their way of protesting against it is to show tons of animal violence. It's silly in a dark way, but some of these ideas are insane, like monkeys sitting in water getting periodically shocked, and cannons with hamsters. In an old-school cartoon way, it's funny. I think it has some interesting humor, but it's definitely not for everybody. Also, I kinda give it a pass here because, obviously, it's not promoting animal violence. The game keeps the cartoon style with its graphics. I think the humans don't look amazing and are caricatures, but the character models for the two leads are excellent. They're nice and cartoony, with Redmond in particular having some great animations. The environments are cool too, and I feel like this game pulls a lot out of its core concepts of a lab and plays with it. There's some neat moments like crashing back and forth between dioramas or knocking a giant planet down to break through some doors. It always does something interesting, like how this game also has a leveling system, which I was surprised to see in a game like this. Overall, I think Whiplash is a fun platforming game with a lot of originality as far as characters go, and its story does stand out in its generation. I don't see many people bring this one up, and I think it's worth playing.
You won't get away. Wait till Peter hears about this. Stop it. What's the thing? Reap the whirlwind, General, reap it.
Next is Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. This game was released on October 9th, 2002 in North America for Xbox, PS2, and GameCube, and was released a month later in Europe. It has since seen ports to new consoles as well as PC. It was developed by Chrome Studios and published by EA. I have a full review of this game on my channel if you're interested in checking that one out after this video. In this game, you play Ty, the titular character. An evil cassowary has kidnapped your parents and imprisoned them. He's also seeking 5 talismans to secure control of the country, and you must stop him. It has a simple plot, but it has an undeniable charm that feels just like a cartoon from the early 2000s. I love how much Australian charm is thrown into the plot and characters, with words like struth being constantly used by the animals. It's a style you don't see often in gaming, and I appreciate it even more the further out I am from having played this game fully. Ty is a traditional platformer of the era though. You jump and collect objects within a themed world. This game reminds me a lot of the first Jak game, which has very similar items to what you collect here. The only thing that really stands out as different is Ty's boomerangs, which can be fused with elements to solve puzzles. I don't think it's used enough though, and it's very simplistic and easy. Not that that's really a negative, it's chill. It's also a great game for children who don't need a lot of challenge. I ran through the game not long ago and I had a good time with it. Just know it's easy and you can get through it fairly quickly. I do like the cartoony, bright look of the game, and once again it gives off a nice style that I appreciate. It works in conjunction with the locales like the Australian outback, which has a lot of oranges. Though there is a nice selection of locales across the game, it's usually the same jump and collect gameplay, but the environments are usually fun. It'll ask you to do things like glide around, which I think is one of the more fun features in this game. When I come back to think about this game, especially since it's been about a year since I covered it on this channel, it's not so much that the gameplay sticks with me. It's serviceable and fun enough, but I would say that every game on this list today is better. Yet what made it stand out to feature here today is its style and characters. I think its world is endearing, and it's a celebration of Australia, which is a cool thing to play in a video game. I think it's worth checking out and having some fun with. Next is an Xbox exclusive, Mad Dash Racing. This game was available on launch day, November 15th, 2001, and saw releases in Europe and Japan in 2002. It was developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Eidos, just like Whiplash, and actually both games feature the weasel Spanx. This one is a racing game platformer hybrid, so it kinda counts here, and I think it adds a bit of variety to this list. It's a nice take on a game like Sonic R, which I know many people don't like, but it was a childhood favorite of mine, so I kind of have a taste for these kind of games. In this game, you pick from a selection of characters, and then you race through the course. Instead of vehicles though, you hop around from platform to platform, dodging obstacles in an attempt to come in first. It's a fun blend of two different genres, and I think Mad Dash Racing pulls it off pretty well. I won't tell you that this is a perfect game by any means here. The controls are a tad clunky, and it's a hard game to learn at first. This is one of those games where reading the manual will help you with this game so much. Every character in this game has a certain skill that allows them to progress further in certain routes. Certain characters can glide, which allows them to float over certain sections of track. Some characters can burst through walls, allowing you to crash through and make shortcuts to make it through the courses easier. The course design in this game can be absolutely insane gauntlets and resemble obstacle courses. Things like swimming and climbing all have different inputs to traverse them, making it feel like you have to do a bunch of minigames to make it to the end. Not only that, but there are a ton of branching paths in each of the courses, and it makes it feel dynamic and fresh when playing with different characters. A fun, cartoony story also helps out when you play this game alone. I think the game has that fun Saturday morning cartoon vibe down perfectly, and it's an addicting experience. This game upon launch was not too well received, and I've seen plenty of people hating on it, but honestly, I think it's a fun little game. It's one of those games that has its issues, but it's a unique experience on the Xbox, and it entertained me enough to have some lasting impact on me. I think this is a neat Xbox exclusive. The final game on today's list is Vexx, another one I've talked about and given a full review of on the channel. It came out on February 11th, 2003 for the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. Vexx is a definite cult classic game with people who dislike it, but there are many who absolutely adore it. For me, I do really like this game, and though I don't think it's a masterpiece by any means, it's still a solid playing platformer with an intense moveset. In this game, you play as Vexx, and there is an evil force known as Shadow Race led by Dark Yabu, and they enslave Vexx's village. Vexx sneaks out and finds war talons. Vexx must use these to take down Yabu, and it's a dark plot, and it is an edgier game. It's a product of its time, and I think it's fun because of it. The war talons have great uses and can cling to anything. You can also do insane backflips and high jumps, and the platforming is all varied, and it's a lot of fun to hop around and move. You need to use all of the tools in your moveset though, because this game does not mess around with difficulty. It does not hold your hand on a lot of objectives, and they really are fun and rewarding at times. There are a few levels though, where they're kind of like gauntlets, where you have to traverse up areas and they last forever, and if you fall, it's over, and it is not forgiving. These are a bit much, but other objectives are a good time. The music in Vexx is top-notch stuff too, and I wish it was a more recognized soundtrack. I love it for its variety because it sweeps between so many genres. It'll swap from light guitar-based pieces to dark, brooding synths. It does a great job of capturing mood. I think some of the level design has weaknesses, but when it's a great level, it really shines. Like the whole level set within a living room, it has you roaming around all over the place, going into a piano and entering a music world. You can use a console to play a game, or you can go inside the clock, which is one of those gauntlet levels, but it looks really cool. Some of these levels are packed with things to do and are gigantic. It's cool what they pulled off here. I do think Vexx is a fun game. It does have some issues, but they don't overshadow the entertainment that you can get out of it. It's a cult classic for a reason and is worth playing. But that does wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to put it in the comments below, like, and also subscribe to keep up with the retro Xbox content. Be sure to let me know in the comments what I should cover next. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.